Hey, Layla. How could you do this? After all the effort Warren made, it shouldn't end up like this. Mimel covered her face and went down on her knees. At her feet, there was a cake box thrown into the trash can. It was something Warren had prepared, and he left the room just minutes before saying, "I'll leave early." From the crushed box, white frosting peeked out. "It's not good to throw perishables in a hospital room. I'll take care of it." I said so, and started to clean up the trash. "Hold on, Layla." Slowly removing the grasping hand of my teary-eyed Mill, I sighed and opened the cake box to show her. "Looking at this, do you still want to eat it?" Seeing the crushed cake, my Mill gasped. "My name is Layla. Warren and I are in our 3rd year of marriage, so I'm going to visit my Mill today. Dinner might be late, is that okay?" "Yay, that's fine, sorry, I've been so busy this week." "Don't worry about it." As Warren apologized me, I shook my heads. Then, I began preparing some change of clothes to bring to my Mill. Cassie, Warren's mother, and my Mill, was in the midst of her hospitalization. She was diagnosed with cancer during a checkup 6 months ago. Luckily, it was caught early, and it seemed there was no immediate danger to her life. So, they were checking for any spread, and she was undergoing radiation therapy. Initially, we lived in the same town with Cassie. Her husband passed away years ago, so when she got hospitalized, it was natural for her to rely on us. At first, it was mainly Warren taking care of her, but as her stay prolonged, the responsibilities started coming my way. That being said, looking after Cassie during her hospitalization wasn't too burdensome. She's been kind to me since before we married, and even after marriage, she kept an appropriate distance with me, for which I was grateful. She still works as a senior sales director at a company. Since I also work in sales, she's kind of like a senior figure to me. When I faced challenges in my work or mentoring my juniors, I often consulted with Cassie, who was still just my boyfriend's mother at the time. Having raised Warren by herself and climbing the corporate ladder to her current position, all while still going strong, Cassie was someone I admired. Seeing her in such a weakened state is tough, though. Even in the hospital, despite her own pain, every time I visit, she'd say, "Thank you so much for doing all this. You have your work, and yet you're taking care of an old lady like me," making me feel even more grateful. What I do for her is merely laundry and buying some necessities she asks for. Despite her illness, she's fully conscious. She kept her laundry to a minimum, and I simply collect it. Her shopping list wasn't demanding either. What concerned me more was Warren. He hadn't visited Cassie in weeks. Earlier, his words seemed apologetic, but hearing the same thing over and over again made it lose its sincerity. He was attentive at the start of her hospitalization, but could it be that Warren is growing tired of taking care of his own mother? Even when we were dating, Warren had that tendency. He'd always start something with a lot of enthusiasm, but after a while, he'd get bored and just abandon it. Back in our college days, he'd buy houseplants and take care of them diligently for a while. But before you know it, they'd be withering away in some corner of the room. This pattern repeated several times. More often than not, it was always up to me to take care of the houseplants or fish tanks that Warren neglected. No way. Cassie isn't a houseplant or a pet. Despite my bad feeling, I finished packing and headed off to work. Months passed, and Warren never visited Cassie in the hospital. Cassie, after a while, it seemed strange to her that only her DIL was visiting, and not her son. Every time I visited, she would ask with a puzzled look, "How's Warren? I always see you, Layla, and I feel bad. I've tried calling him but can't get through. Is he too busy at work? You're working full-time too, though." It goes without saying, it must be hard not being able to see family when undergoing tough treatments. I can't stand this anymore. At this rate, even things that can heal won't. I headed home, trying to suppress my anger. Then, Warren, who seemed to have returned earlier, was sitting on the sofa, puffing on a cigarette. "Hey, welcome back, Layla. You were at the hospital again. Well, never mind that. Get dinner ready, will you? I'm starving," he said, without even looking up from his phone. He used to excuse himself saying he was busy with work, but lately, he acts as if taking care of Cassie is obviously my job. On top of that, he didn't even help with household chores. What's up? Why are you standing there? Get dinner ready. Listen, we need to talk. Can't you wait till after dinner? Ignoring his sarcastic remark, I continued. It's about Cassie. At this, Warren's face contorted. He started scratching his head as if it was a major inconvenience. Yeah, I know I've left it all up to you lately. I've been thinking once work settles down, I'd visit her more. How can you be so insincere? She's really lonely. She always asks about you. She's losing weight from all the radiation therapy. She's having a tough time eating too. The doctor said we should encourage her to eat anything she can. Can't you just go see her? Perhaps it was because I pleaded so earnestly. After a pause, Warren let out a big sigh. Stubbing out his cigarette, he carelessly placed his phone on the table. All right, I'll visit her this Monday if you insist that much. I have a business trip from Tuesday, but I can come home early. Really? Thank you. Why do I have to thank him for something related to his own mother? Despite the odd feeling, I was happy, hoping that the visit might cheer up Cassie. Is that good enough? I'm gonna take a shower now. Have dinner ready by the time I'm out. Okay, got it. Seeing me overjoyed, Warren got up and headed for the bathroom. As I was about to hurry to the kitchen, I couldn't help but notice Warren's phone. His screen was still on. A web browser was displayed on the screen. What? My eyes widened at the text displayed on the web browser. I accidentally dropped my bag. My work tools and the bag full of laundry I'd gotten from Cassie made a loud thud as they hit the floor. Is this a mistake? No, it can't be. This is. Feeling a chill run down my spine, I instinctively looked towards the bathroom. All I could hear was the faint sound of the shower, and there was no one around to answer my questions. I gulped nervously. There's no way this is acceptable. I can't let anything else hurt her. Then I felt my farts racing at an incredible speed about the next steps to take. 4 days had passed since that event, and Monday rolled around. Today was the day Warren promised to visit Cassie in the hospital. It seemed Warren remembered it too, and he asked me in the morning, well, I'm heading to see my mom today. Should I bring her some food and just pick up the laundry, right? Yay. I've packed her new pajamas in this bag here. Ick. I have to take this with me to work. What a drag. Still, he headed off to work with the bag containing Cassie's clothes. With Warren visiting, I should have been able to head home early, but after work, I found myself heading to the hospital, just like always. I planned to head straight there right after work, but overtime work dragged on, and now it's late. Hopefully, Warren hasn't shown up yet. Suppressing my impatience, I opened the door to the hospital room. Oh, Layla. I thought you weren't coming today. There sat Warren on the visitor's chair, and Passy, sitting up in bed. Both of them looked surprised as they saw me burst in. Warren, you're already here. Yeah, I told you I have a business trip from tomorrow, so I got off early. But, since you're here, has it gotten that late? Oh, it's dark outside already. I lost track of time chatting with Warren. Well, now that Layla's here too, I should probably leave. We don't want to crowd the room and be noisy. As I approached the bed, Warren stood up from the chair. Pointing at a white cake box on the side table, he said, Mom, eat that when you feel like it. I went all the way to your favorite pastry shop for it. Layla, you can do the rest. Then he handed me a large bag and left the room. I set the bag, filled with Cassie's dirty laundry, aside and turned to face her. It seemed that seeing her son after such a long time had brightened her spirits. She looked more lively and flushed than usual. Layla, you came too. Warren said you wouldn't be coming. Do you have something to do? No, it's just that. Seeing her happy face, I couldn't help but second guess whether what I was about to do was right. But the search results I saw that day. I'm so sorry, Cassie. Ignoring the puzzled look on Cassie's face, I briskly walked over to the side table and grabbed the cake box. Oh, Warren brought it for me. He went out of his way to get it from my favorite pastry shop. He remembered I loved it. She said with a chuckle. Apologizing silently in my heart, I threw the box into the trash. The cake box crumpled as it was stuffed into the small trash bin. Seeing this, Cassie screamed in shock. "What, Layla? Why? He went through all that trouble to get that for me. Why would you do that?" Her face got pale, and she began to panic. She leaned forward on her bed, as if to lunge at me. I hoped I wouldn't have to explain, but it seems that's not an option. With a sigh, I showed her the contents of the trash bin. The box was crushed, with cream splattered all over. "Cassie, look at this." What's wrong with the cake?" Though she was still visibly shaken, she looked at it closer. After a moment of silence, she covered her mouth in horror. "Oh my, what is this?" Mixed in with the white cream were specks of what looked like cigarette ashes. Was this some kind of mistake by the shop? "No. Warren did this." "What?" She screamed again upon hearing my words. The search history I'd seen on Warren's phone that day had displayed search histories like how to worsen cancer, inheritance procedures, effects of swallowing cigarette ashes. Seeing that, I realized Warren was likely trying to harm his own mother for inheritance. The fact that Warren so readily agreed to visit Cassie made me think that if he was going to do something to her, it would undoubtedly be today. I wish it was just a bad hunch. Had I been wrong, I would have been just a wicked wife throwing away a cake bought by a dutiful son. However, there was actual cigarette ash inside the cake. Had she unknowingly consumed it, Cassie, already weakened from various treatments, might not have been okay. I showed her a photo of Warren's phone screen I had quickly taken that day, and said, "Please, stay calm, Cassie. Warren put this in the cake, hoping your condition would worsen. Probably aiming for your inheritance." "No way. Warren did." Cassie covered her pale face and curled up on the bed. How shocking it must be to almost be fed cigarette ash by her own son. I couldn't say anything, so I just stroked petite Cassie's back. Then, we immediately contacted the police. Of course, Warren claimed, "I just gave the cake I bought at the shop. It's the shop's mistake." But my search history I had taken, the testimony from Cassie, and ultimately the surveillance footage from the bakery parking lot showing Warren tampering with the cake right after buying it, sealed the deal. He was arrested. When Warren finally snapped, he exclaimed, "I just wanted to finish off that old hag before she squandered her inheritance." You were sick of taking care of her, right, Layla? If it worked out, you wouldn't need to visit her anymore. Why'd you get in the way? I was taken aback by that. I asked for your help because I thought Cassie would be happy with you around. And yet, aren't you ashamed? What? Ashamed? I just wanted her gone. I can't believe it. It seemed Warren saw Cassie like an ornamental plant or an aquarium, something he grew tired of taking care of. Unbelievable. To think that a man I had been with for almost 5 years had such a nature. After that, I sent Warren, who was in jail, divorce papers. He resisted, but the divorce trial went quickly. The court ordered Warren to agree to the divorce and a division of assets. Later, I heard he was fired from his job due to the arrest. He'd served time for a few years, but once out, he'd have no job, and a restraining order kept him away from his only family, his mother. Given the circumstances of our asset division, it seemed unlikely that Warren could maintain a stable life after release. But he got what he deserved, right? When dividing assets, I left the apartment I had shared with Warren and moved. A week after moving, I walked the familiar road from my new home. It led to the hospital where Cassie, my former mill, was admitted. I informed the nurses I was there for a visit and headed to her room. When I opened the door, Cassie, with a surprised look, was lying on the bed. Layla, why are you here? Why do you ask? I've always come, haven't I? I won't suddenly stop coming. But you and Warren are divorced now, aren't we strangers? Please don't say such a thing. I truly respect you, Cassie. I'd love to continue talking with you. You've got to be kidding, but... Cassie, with a bewildered expression, nodded slowly towards me. Thank you, Layla. I promise I'll visit as often as before. I've been busy with moving and the trial, but now things have settled. That's very kind of you, but you really don't have to. Come on, don't hesitate. No, the doctor said I could be discharged next week. So, you won't have to come here like before. Really? When I couldn't help but raise my voice, Cassie smiled with a twinkle in her eye. Her expression was sincere. Though she looked frail from her long treatment, it was the confident smile of the Cassie I so admired. Yes, but I haven't fully recovered, and I'll need to visit the hospital often. On treatment days, I won't be able to drive. Would you mind helping me out, Layla? Of course, I'd be happy to. I wiped away my tears and nodded vigorously.